Welcome to Retro Video Playback and to episode 38 of Tape Talk Tuesday. Let's take a trip down Holiday Road, a movie that's one of the most emblematic of summer ever put to film. I'm taking a look at National Lampoon's Vacation on VHS. National Lampoon's Vacation was released to theaters July 29th, 1983, so at the time of recording this video, we just passed its 42nd anniversary. Not a notable milestone, but crazy to think about nonetheless. Maybe it's just my attachment to the movie playing in, but Vacation doesn't feel dated like other movies its age. Not the production, anyway. The fashion and the cars and some of the language used throughout the movie certainly do feel their age. There's no getting past those short shorts. I'm looking at you, Chevy and Michael. But the writing, the production quality, and the direction of the movie still work so well today, over 4 decades after the movie's release. As always, I'm going to give some credit to John Hughes for a lot of those things. Written by John Hughes, he takes the concept of a typical family road trip and puts his comedic spin on it, resulting in a ridiculous and outlandish series of events, all coming together to make the movie that so many love and enjoy. Vacation on VHS, the purpose of this video. Usually it's pretty easy to find when different versions of what movie came out on what format, but in the case of Vacation, I was finding a couple of different things. While Wikipedia noted VHS releases in 1983, 1986, 1991, 1995, and 1999, no citation I might add, the website movies.fandom.com only lists releases in 1983 and 1991. So when was Vacation actually released on VHS? I have 2 versions here, 1986 and 1999, so already movies.fandom.com unfortunately is incorrect. They didn't list the 1986 version. Then there's a 1983 version, which was supposed to be new to my collection, but the seller canceled the sale on eBay after realizing that they weren't making money. Big surprise, you don't make money by shipping a VHS tape across a country for free. Anyway, the 1986 version is surprisingly common. Usually it's once you get into the prints from the 90s that movies get super common, and then there's the 1999 version, also pretty common. But what about those 1991 and 1995 versions? To my knowledge, I'd never seen a 1991 or 1995 version of Vacation on VHS, so I went to eBay to see what I could find. You can search all you want online to see what different types of VHS exist, but as I pointed out with those other sites, it's hard to get the whole picture sometimes. It's hard to get accurate information sometimes. eBay, meanwhile, is an excellent source of seeing what's actually out there. So I go to eBay, and I scrolled, and I scrolled, and I scrolled. Holy crap, there are a lot of copies of Christmas Vacation on VHS out there. And I scrolled. I looked through every page of active listings on eBay and at sold listings, and I couldn't find specifically 1991 or 1995 versions of Vacation on VHS anywhere. So, if they exist, my best guess is that they're likely just reprints of the 1986 version, so just looking at the front cover, you wouldn't even know that it's a reprint. Meaning, I may have seen a 1991 or a 1995 version on eBay, but without looking at the small copyright print on the back of the box, if it was even updated, you can't tell. So let's look at the different versions of National Lampoon's Vacation on VHS, starting with the version from 1983. It was the first VHS release for Vacation, coming out within about 6 months or so after the movie's original theatrical release. It's a clamshell case that fits Warner's standard design at the time. I don't have a copy here, as I noted, though I should, so I won't review this one further. The 1986 version is easily identifiable thanks to its all-yellow school bus colored background and trim. There's a small WB logo, Chevy Chase's name. Given his popularity in 1986, that's no surprise his name is on here. Then in smaller writing, National Lampoon's, and in larger letters that look like carved stones, Vacation. The main image is an exaggerated, artistic, I'd almost call it a painting, and it spoofs other more serious movies of the time. You could probably cite a number of movies as the inspiration, but for me it's reminiscent of Conan the Barbarian with some Star Wars mixed in. We've got Chevy Chase as the hero, tennis racket and fishing rod raised in the air, with Beverly D'Angelo and Christy Brinkley at his feet. Chevy and Christy are well done, but if I saw what's supposed to be Beverly D'Angelo anywhere but in the context of this cover, I'd have no idea that's who that's supposed to be because it looks nothing like her. The characters appear to be in the desert, and included with them are the family dog and a snake, and in Chevy's right arm are some luggage and golf clubs strapped to his back. To the right of the characters is a quote, "Fast, funny satire." Below the main image are some production credits. Something about the credits being on the front cover always seemed to make a movie seem more retro to me. Okay, I touched on this last episode when I talked about Caddyshack, but Warner's design from this time period. I won't fully dive into it, don't worry, but if you didn't see my Caddyshack episode, I'll quickly point out again that Warner decided that it was a good idea to put just their logo on the top of the VHS box instead of the movie title. On this VHS, a previous owner made their own label, and they decided to flip the movie title on the spines to face the opposite direction of pretty much all other movies ever. There. I won't belabor the point any further. Other than that backward-facing movie title, we've got a shot of Christie Brinkley at the bottom of one spine and a barcode on the other. The back of the 1986 version is quite simple, with the same image of Christie Brinkley on her car that we saw on the spine, and then a bunch of writing. Again, to reference the previous episode of Tape Talk Tuesday where I looked at Caddyshack, this is the same design template with just one image and then mostly writing. It's something that Warner was doing with a number of movies apparently. The box has a quote from Gene Siskel, "Have a good laugh." I did. I liked taking this vacation. Then we have the write-up. You know, this is sometimes my favorite part of the videos because, like I've explained in the past, I don't read these write-ups prior to recording it. So when I'm about to read it, that is my first time actually reading it. This is a very long write-up, so we'll see how frustrated I am by the end. When a typical American family takes a cross-country vacation, it can only mean total disaster. Especially if the father of this typical American family happens to be Chevy Chase. If also the vacation just happens to be produced by Maddie Simmons of National Lampoon and directed by Harold Ramis, Caddyshack, Club Paradise, well, now we're talking totally irreverent comedy at its best. Welcome to National Lampoon's Vacation. That's a quarter of the paragraph so far. We have a long way to go, and this is exactly like Caddyshack. This makes little sense, and I hate it. Anyway. Clark Griswold, Chase, and his wife Ellen, Beverly D'Angelo, have planned all year for a great summer vacation. From their suburban Chicago home across America to the wonders of Disneyland like Wally World in California, every inch of their pilgrimage has been carefully plotted to the smallest detail. Every detail, that is, except a few hundred hysterical exceptions that even the most dour pessimist couldn't foresee. Clark, however, takes it in stride. So what if they lose all their money when their new car gets wrecked? And it's not really so bad when country cousins, including Saturday Night Live's Randy Quaid, deposit cantankerous old Aunt Edna, a delightfully batty Imogene Coca, in their back seat for a lift to Phoenix. But what really keeps Clark's eyes on the road and car pointed westward is a highway flirtation with a luscious, mysterious blonde, Christie Brinkley, in a flashy red Ferrari. By the time the Griswolds, including son Rusty, Saturday Night Live, and Out of Bounds star Anthony Michael Hall, and daughter Audrey, Dana Barron, get to Wally World, where more surprises await them, they need a long rest from their recreation. What does this say? But for viewers that accompany them, National Lampoon's Vacation, called Fast, Funny Satire, yes, we know, we saw on the front, by the New York Times, Janet Maslin, is a jolly jaunt. Okay, I have a couple of thoughts on this. Clearly I don't like it, but a couple of things. If this was written on the back of a Blu-ray that I just purchased, I would absolutely bet everything I own that it was written by AI. But also, it reads like a paper written by a student who had to meet a word count, and they just rambled and added so many unnecessary details. I just have no idea who was putting these movie designs back with Warner in the 80s, but oh my god, these are some of the worst write-ups I've ever read in my life. Okay, rein it back in. After the write-up, in the bottom section of the tape is the FBI warning, R rating, and then some additional icons and copyright information. The tape, I keep referring to my Caddyshack video, but this is the same comically large label that Warner was obsessed with using in the 80s. Why, I don't know, but I will say I like the simple, bold font of Vacation on this one and on the spine of the tape. There's even a fun little textured sticker with Warner logos on it on the spine. The 1991 and 1995 versions, I don't know that they actually exist, so we'll leave it at that. A version that does exist, the 1999 version, is like an evolution of the 86 version, taking that version's primary image, expanding it, and making the entire design center around it. So that school bus yellow is now gone, and everything is basically zoomed in and made bigger. This version was released as a part of Warner's Warner Brothers Hits line of releases, as indicated by the banner at the top of the box. If you're not aware, this is a thing studios have done for a long time, where they repackage movies as a means of selling more volume, so more copies than they otherwise would without the repackaged re-releases. From VHS like this one, to various anniversary editions in the last 10 to 15 years or so with Blu-rays, like Universal's 100-year anniversary back in 2012. God, I can't believe it's been that long already. I can vividly remember buying these versions of American Graffiti and Jaws. And then more recently, WB had their 100th anniversary in 2023, and they re-released a number of movies with new packaging, including Vacation on 4K Blu-ray. So anyway, continuing with this VHS, we again have National Lampoon's Vacation, the same as the 86 version, just larger, but you'll notice the absence of Chevy Chase's name here. I'd say by 1999, while Chevy was still, of course, acting, his name wasn't the draw that it was like back in 86. And also, sometimes it's a contractual thing for actors to have their name on posters or media covers, and maybe at the time Warner just didn't have that obligation. We get a better, more close-up look at the primary image now that it takes up the whole cover. I won't go over every detail again, but let's take a few moments to just look at it. The top and spines follow the theme from the front cover, and then on the back side it changes up with a white background that transitions down into a desert shot of the Griswold family's station wagon flying through the air. There's the same quote from Gene Siskel as the 86 version, an image of a delirious Clark walking through the desert, and a posed promotional family shot of the Griswolds in front of their car. Then there's the write-up. A shorter, hopefully less annoying write-up. Let's see. The Griswolds have planned all year for a great summer vacation. From their suburban Chicago home across America to the wonders of the Wally World Fun Park in California, every step of the way has been carefully plotted, except a few hundred hysterical exceptions. Okay, so it's basically a simplified version of the 86's write-up. National Lampoon's Vacation is a sublimely goofy comedy, thanks largely to Chevy Chase in his signature role of Clark Griswold. The inept but sincere Clark takes misfortune in stride. So what if they lose all their money when their new car gets wrecked? And it's not too bad when Cousin Eddie, Randy Quaid, deposits sour Aunt Edna, Imogen Coca, in their back seat for a lift to Phoenix. But what really keeps Clark's eyes on the road is a flirtation with a mysterious blonde, Christy Brinkley, in a red Ferrari. For those along for the ride, National Lampoon's Vacation, called fast, funny satire by the New York Times' Janet Maslin, is a jolly jaunt. So you've got similarities to the previous write-up, but it's simple, it's shorter, it's still not good, but at least it doesn't go on and on and on like that 86 version. The backside is then closed out with the production credits, copyright information, and the usual miscellaneous information. The tape is an inked-on design with the same Vacation logo that we saw on the box. So there they are, the various versions of Vacation, an unintentional alliteration, on VHS. Summer is incomplete without a viewing of National Lampoon's Vacation. It's graced screens for over 40 years, as watchable as ever on VHS, and as I showed earlier, available on 4K Blu-ray. Naturally, being written by John Hughes, the movie holds up well, as funny as ever, and providing that often needed dose of nostalgia. If you'd like to see more of my VHS movie discussions, you can check out the library of episodes in the Tape Talk Tuesday playlist on my channel, and specifically, you may be interested to see episode 10, where I featured Christmas Vacation. With that, we find ourselves at the end of our discussion of National Lampoon's Vacation on VHS, and the end of episode 38 of Tape Talk Tuesday. Thanks for watching Retro Video Playback.